What do you think of that cover?
When I first saw the cover, I was really confused. Like, what does this have to do with anything? Because I remember one of them had handcuffs on it, and I was like, okay, well, that makes sense to a certain extent. But when I first saw this cover, I was like, what in the world? I picked this one because this was my favorite one out of the three.
What is it called?
50 Shades Darker.
Is that the second one?
Yep, it's the second one.
Why'd you like that one the best?
Because I feel like the whole premise of the story is to understand how, like, Christian is 50 shades fucked up. But in this one, you get a chance to see that, like, Anastasia is just as fucked up as Christian is. She's taken a mental list, and it's like literally 8 numbers. And she's like over the shoulder carrying, unacceptable for anyone over the age of 6. Taking me to the salon that he owns with his ex-lover. How stupid can he be? And like, she just keeps going and going, and I'm just like, you're being obsessive. Eight ideas about how you don't like him, but you stay with him. I was just like, what? You have to be kidding me. And another thing that I liked a lot was at the end, Christian and Anastasia, they go off on his Mrs. Robinson, this older lady that he was hooking up with or whatever. And like, she's so jealous of her, and I know it's because she's tall and blonde and pretty, and he helps her with this business where she's doing hair, and she's like the only person that's been able to touch him because he's like, I don't like being touched. It's because he was abused when he was younger. Yeah. So she was so jealous, like, how come Miss Robinson can touch on him, but I can't touch him, you know? So whenever she sees her, she goes into these wild tangents in her head, like, oh my God, there's Miss Robinson, I hate that bitch, like that or whatever. So at the end, they're having this birthday party. I can't remember if it was for Christian or if it was for Anastasia. I think it was, yeah, it was Christian's birthday party. And so the whole family is there. His mom, his dad, his brother, his sister, because he's adopted. And so everybody is there. Anastasia, her best friend, because her best friend is dating his brother. It's so weird. Okay, so they're all at this birthday party, and Miss Robinson, Elena, is there. And she gets Anastasia alone, like in a closet.
In a closet?
Yes, in the closet. So they're talking or whatever, and Anastasia like flips out because Miss Robinson was like, he has needs you can't possibly begin to satisfy. And then Anastasia is like, what do you know of his needs? My sense of indignation flares brightly, burning inside me as adrenaline surges through my body. And she's like, how dare this fucking bitch preach to me? Like, she was so mad. And like, they get into it or whatever, and she throws her drink at her, right? And Christian is like, what's going on, what's going on? So he knocks open the door. He's like, what the fuck are you doing, Elena? And she's like, she's not right for you, Christian. What? He shouts, startling both of us. And so he's like, how the fuck do you know what's right for me? You have needs, Christian, she says in a soft voice. I've told you before, this is none of your fucking business. Oh crap, very angry Christian has reared his not so ugly head. People are going to hear, or whatever. So they're like arguing back and forth, and Christian is spazzing out on her. And guess what happens? His mom overhears everything, and she had no idea that her friend, because Miss Robinson is his mom's friend, and she's like, oh my God, my friend has been sleeping with my son. And she's like, get your, what did she say? She said, take your filthy paws off my son, you whore, and get out of my house now. It was great. That's exactly why I love this one so much, because not only do you get a chance to see what a crazy person Anastasia is, but it's like all of this stuff is coming to a boiling head, and you know the third one is going to be a resolution, and you're like, oh, I just can't imagine it getting any worse. I heard they were gonna make a movie for it. I think it's gonna be kind of like weird. I just hope they don't water it down. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want it to be like Twilight, where you have to kind of imagine what's going on.
Okay.
But then it would be like too much, you know? I don't know. If they can find like a medium between the two. Because the book, I think a lot of reasons why a lot of people can read it is even though it has an explicit storyline, the vocabulary isn't explicit. You know what I mean? And I think that's why a lot of people can read it, and that's why some people don't read it, you know? They'll say, oh, this is boring. She should talk about him putting his huge, you know? And, like, my grandma was like, this story is boring. I want it to be more. And I'm like, Grandma, I can't believe you're saying this. Yeah.
That's awesome.
She read the first one, and then she was like, I'm over it because it's
your mom
not
read it?
explicit enough. Yeah. My mom read all 3 of them. I actually finished each book in 3 days.
Wow, so it's like a easy read.
Yeah, I think it's an easy read. And I like the fact that throughout the whole story, you get a really good grasp on how Anastasia feels about everything. And so...
It's from her point of view?
Yep.
Is it first person?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's first person.
What does she do for a living?
Who, Anastasia?
Does she have a job?
She's a college student. And that's how she ends up meeting Christian. So her best friend, she's a writer. Like, she writes for the school newspaper and everything. And so she ends up getting the flu. And she's like, I'm so sick, you know, in a house with tissue everywhere and everything. She's like, I don't want to miss an opportunity to interview this guy because he's really rich and famous, like somebody that a lot of people know about in Seattle. And she's like, can you please do it for me? And since she's such a passive person, she's like, yeah, even though she didn't really want to. But when she's telling her about him, in her mind, she's like, oh, it's gonna be this old guy, this old fat guy, you know, something like that, you know, like a rich old man. Then she gets to his office or whatever, and he's young and good looking, and she's like, oh shit. And she walks into the office and she like almost falls, like she drops her stuff, being all clumsy and stuff, and he's flirting with her. And I know it's because in his mind, when he met her, she seemed really submissive and passive. But then like after they got together and he's like, are you gonna be submissive for me? Something in her just said, F this, I'm not passive anymore. And it just turned into this big thing because even though her personality is naturally passive, whenever she's come into a situation where he's saying, will you be completely submissive to me? She's like, heck no.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh. Another reason why I like this so much is because, like I told you, you know, even though it's not really vulgar completely, you can find yourself feeling like Anastasia, and you're like, oh my god, I want him to like tie me up or something, you know? Even if that's not something that you're into, when you're reading it, you're like, oh my god, I think I would let him hit me. You know what I mean? No. Not like literally, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you can feel how she feels, and you can see the stuff that she's seeing, and she's so oblivious because she's a virgin, you know? So it's like you go from nothing to all of this kinky fuckery, like that's what they call it, like kinky fuckery, and you're just like, oh my god, you feel overwhelmed and she feels overwhelmed, and you're like, I just want to keep reading and keep reading and keep reading. So it was great.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.